Good morning. Let us examine quickly the meaning of the word spiritual and other things associated with it. All right? So, let's say a person wants to be more spiritual or a person is not spiritual. Okay? So that when I use the word, we all can get a common feeling about the context of the sentences and the discussions that we're going to be having. So if I say a person is not spiritual, the meaning of that is a person focuses their attention and belief on all things physical. They do not consider that the causes of things have intelligent laws and beings behind them. The movement of the sun, the exchange of oxygen between human being and plant. They see that as a pure physical evolution, nothing to do with spiritual or invisible laws and intelligent beings behind them. So, if a person is spiritual, then that person knows and believes and acts according to their understanding of invisible laws and beings. All right. So, for example, a person prays because they know that their prayers are going to have an effect. Even though their prayers are going out into an invisible or spiritual world, this person knows and believes that their prayers are going to have an effect on their food, on their lives, and that's a spiritual person. A person believing and acting as if the invisible realm or the spiritual realm is a real thing. Okay? Now we could get a little deeper in terms of when we talk about spiritual, but a key part about spiritual thing is not just describing an invisible or unknown aspect, but really describing a really higher intelligent aspect, and to also go further and say it is the foundational structure of all things physical. All things physical sit on spiritual laws. So the way oxygen works, and when we put two chemicals together in the physical world, the way they react, these are spiritual laws that we discover through physical experiments. But this is a definition of physical and spiritual. And in the spiritual realm, we have divine, intelligent, supreme beings that are pouring wisdom out. The actual wisdom. You know, some beings, what we might call wisdom, you might be you might be able to say that the wisdom of things are their beings themselves. There is the wisdom of things, and these things have to have forms, and some things move, and there are a number of different types of beings working with our thing. Just like how we have, little creatures living in our intestines and such. In the same way, there are always little spiritual beings working together in the unfoldment of the growth of a plant and the blossoming of a flower. We must not think that these beings are exactly like us in terms of their individuals standing next to other individual beings. The way these beings work is the same way like a society works. They kind of work together, but talking about beings can get very heavy. People find it difficult to think about things they cannot see and to find those things real. But I would ask you, is your love real? Not the love for your parents and your sister, but the love for that friend, the wife, the love for the person that's not a blood relative. Where could you find it tangible? And because you cannot find it anywhere, you might say it exists in the spiritual realm. Okay? So this is just a categorization of what spiritual and physical is, so that when we talk about a person being spiritual or spiritual exercises or seeing into the spiritual realm, having spiritual effects, What are some spiritual benefits of things? Okay. So a spiritual benefit is insight. You know. So if a person is constantly confused, not knowing what to do, I don't know what to study in college or what to be when I grow up. I don't like this job. I don't know what to study next. I don't know how to go from this job. That's confusion, confoundment. So one spiritual benefit, let's say a person begins to do spiritual exercises, meditation and concentration and such. Then one benefit would be clarity, understanding and the knowing of oneself, the ability to make decisions with more certainty. That's a tangible spiritual benefit. So in most of the spiritual work I admonish and I teach in my classes, it's not, dressed up with all the religious garbs of normal spiritual things. However, the effects are the same because the feelings that go into it are the same and we engage the same part of the person. When a person concentrates on the growth of a flower, concentrates on the way the sun works on them, the way the sun works on the plants, the way the whole movement of these types of things affect us, beholding the dream world and our dreams. These types of thoughts take a person into the spiritual realm. It takes their thoughts and feelings into spaces that their body cannot enter. A person cannot behold the sun really with their physical body. The workings of the growth of a seed, that only happens in the spiritual parts of you. When you start considering those feelings, the growth of a plant, the growth of a baby. You see, the growth of a baby occurs over time, slowly. Only in retrospect we know that the baby is growing. But in the moment, if we stare at a child or a tree, it moves not, it groweth not. So when we recollect and we think, a child grows like this, and a chicken grows like this, and a stone grows not. And when you start thinking about these three things, what happens in the mind is a spiritual thing. What happens in the soul is a spiritual thing. And just those thoughts are going to cause a person to go into a certain space, a certain realm. And this is the science of this thing. And in the world today, this would be a modern and futuristic way about going about the physical or materialistic world. So all companies and all sports teams and all schools, for example, are going to incorporate spiritual activities, not as a religious, moral impulse, but say, as a corporation, we want to be so good, we want to know Jesus. No. A lot of these corporations are going to, and I think they already do, incorporate spiritual exercises as a result of the need to be competitive in the corporate world. To get more to the human being, you would no longer be able to incentivize them with money. You're going to have spiritual nourishment for them. This is the beauty of the work that we're doing here. For those of you that are watching and listening and buying into what we're discussing here, you'd realize that the human being is going to need this nourishment to be motivated, inspired, to enjoy the workplace, to be a part of something profound and growing. They are going to need spiritual insight. And only people like you and me who have given themselves over to this completely, to lay down, I find myself in the divinity of the world. Those of us who have given themselves over to the work of the divine, as opposed to material gain and status, and the giving in to desires and pleasures. Those of us who not necessarily fight these things, aim to transmute these lower desires, make them holy, and aim to direct attention to the best part of ourselves and to allow that part of ourselves to be guided and to grow by the spiritual impulses that we have. The impulses of good, morality, and sharing the fruits of the spiritual world, which is discussions like these. All right? I could give you $20, but I could also give you something that is way more valuable, something that is imperishable, immortal, eternal. These feelings are imperishable. They are immortal. They are eternal. Okay? They resonate with a part of us that is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. I am. We are one thing. And the I am in us is always moving towards the positive fulfillment, the proper unfolding of the human being. And wherever we start from, in terms of difficulties and bad habits and what some might call sin, and some cases poverty, financial poverty, mental poverty, all of these things, worry not, fret not if you find yourself there. We are all a part of something beautiful, and it is unfolding. It is unfolding in the most proper way. And wherever we find ourselves, we are thankful for the ability to see and consider the parts of our own lives. We are thankful for all the gifts of thoughts and stuff that we have. And we are most grateful for the whole of how things work. The fact that we have grace and wisdom all around us. The fact that we have access to ultimate happiness, ultimate wisdom, and ultimate knowledge. Soul feelings of joy and knowing. We have access to these things. These aren't common things, but we have access to them. And the work to get ourselves there is monumental. But it's the best work that a person can get up to.